So bearing in mind all the things that we've discussed so far, I thought we'd walk through some of the rooms in your house and think about how they may be organized to facilitate independence, for instance, to consider that sense of order and to consider choices for the children within their own environments. So when we think about the bedroom and independence, we'd like children to have easy access to where they sleep. So they may be in a very low bed, or they may be in a futon on the floor, enabling children to start to self-regulate so that when they're feeling tired, they don't need to ask for help, to be able to go down, lie in a quiet space on their beds. And when they wake up, they don't need to ask for an adult's help to get out of bed either. It's about the way that clothes are stored so that children can independently access and put clothing away, so that even the rail for the hangers should be at a level that children can easily reach. And once again, wherever you choose to have their activities on the shelves, that they should be suitably accessible for the age of your child. When you consider something like an art easel, perhaps in the bedroom, that would just be for drawing, or you might have a chalkboard. And if there's something painting that involves possible spillage, you might want to consider a specific area where you would be comfortable for that spillage to occur. We also think about what we put on the walls. Like with all activities that we put out for the children, we have an end goal in mind. And if you put something on the wall, it's worth considering why it's there in the first place, why it might engage your child, what your child might notice or learn from what it is that you put on that wall. So the next room would be your sitting room, and the sitting area or the general living space that you might have will vary depending on your own homes. It's about looking around and considering who's got to share that space and how to organize it so that it's shared in a way that makes it less necessary for you to have to say no too many times in the day. So if something is breakable and you would rather that it shouldn't be broken, then a shared space might need to be considered in terms of having a particularly valuable object out, for instance. If your area is adjacent to the kitchen, then you won't need to create a space where children have access to water or their snacks in your living area. Otherwise, you might consider that as something that feeds into the independence, that they can feed them, have a little snack when they're hungry, or be able to pour themselves something to drink. Once again, it's the same ideas of having accessibility for independence, having activities on low shelves for that accessibility, having an uncluttered and ordered area, and also a quiet area. So it may be on the floor in a space away from everybody else, but where you can still happily supervise, where a child might just read a book on some comfortable cushions, or might listen to music with some headphones if that's what you're providing, all the while giving your children as much choice as they're able to manage. When you're looking at your various environments, it's a good idea to step through as if you're going to do it yourselves, to see how best you can pre-prepare each of those environments so that the children have everything ready for them when they need it. So for instance, if you want your children to be ordered in the bathroom so that they have somewhere to put their clothes when they take them off, then you should have an accessible laundry basket. If children are going to be able to access a mirror so that they can see whether their faces are clean, then they're going to need a step up potentially to that mirror. And then it's about not taking things for granted with young children, what it is that they need to learn. So turning a tap on and off might look like an easy thing, but for young children, you might want to tell them how many times to turn the tap so that you don't have too much water coming out of the taps at any one time. And you need to preempt by teaching them which is the hot tap and which is the cold tap. If you look at on the left here, many of you have probably had an example of toilet paper running all over the floor and toilet paper being at a premium at the moment. A good idea to think about, how can we teach children how much toilet paper to unroll at any one time and how to pull off the toilet paper so that it doesn't go all over the floor. If you're looking at the right-hand side, this is set out so that children have everything accessible for brushing their teeth, washing their faces, and combing their hair. So it's always about trying to break the actions down. And I thought the next slide was a good idea, given that we are focusing so much on hand washing at the moment. So I thought this is an example of how we need to look through each and every detail of what we need for an activity. So if your child is not going to wash their hands at the basin, so for instance, you might choose to have a hand washing station at your front door under these circumstances. And then you're going to have to provide all the following pieces of the following materials in order for your child to be able to accomplish that. You also will need to give them a proper demonstration on how to wash your hands, how much soap to use, to look for things that are of point of interest. Maybe it would be bubbles that they create by lathering up the soap, how they're going to wash the front of their hands and the back of their hands and between their fingers. Thinking about what happens with that soapy water. Does it go then into a bucket that's underneath the table? And then do you have a pitcher of water so that the child can take all the soap off? And then how to gently shake your hands for the excess water before using the hand towel. There's so many direct and indirect learning that goes into just a hand washing lesson. There's independence, there's coordination, there's that sense of order, there's concentration, there's eye-hand coordination, there's the idea of water temperature, and there's the idea of hygiene, about learning to take care of yourself. And that's before you think about what happens when the water is spilled and how the child is going to manage the consequences of that.